How? Relatively speechless. So how are you? You good?
Well, I will tell you that I live in the cymatic universe along with everybody else, but they just don't know it. Um,
Shh.
so,
We can tell them.
so 6 months ago, our city, and this city is like 2.5 hours in from one coast and 5.5 hours in from the other coast, was hit by a hurricane.
Where are
Never
you?
before. I'm in Augusta, Georgia. We
Okay.
are landlocked, and a Hurricane Helene came roaring through and just ravaged our beautiful city. So we lost all of this lush green canopy, the shrubs, the bushes, the trees. Our yards were just like devastated. So 6 months later, today, after living all those months in cymatic chaos, because the mind, our human minds, love order and beauty. And when all of that is in upheaval, it takes a lot of focus and concentration to maintain physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. And believe me, I had to dig deep down to maintain my sanity. So anyway,
Yeah,
today
well done.
today is a beautiful day, spring day here in Augusta, Georgia, and the landscapers are here to plant all the new trees and bushes and flowers. So it's a glorious day. Thank you very much
That
for
is amazing. Oh my gosh, what a day to catch you on. Isn't that
so
amazing?
my cymatic universe is coming into more of a coherent and beautiful, outwardly beautiful, in my home, because our homes, we can harness the cymatic energies to help support us in all areas of our lives.
Should we go for it?
Let's go.
All right. Welcome to this very special episode of the Live Life Wise show, Conscious Minds, Conscious Choices. I'm Geoff Talbot, your host and founder of LifeWise Wellbeing, delivering wellbeing workshops, life guide support, and energy healing and other holistic support for individuals and groups. And this show is all about exploring ways to live with more clarity, power, and purpose. Through engaging discussions, expert insight, and thought provoking topics, we explore the realms of personal growth, metaphysics, well-being, and the unseen forces shaping our lives. So get on board, click those like buttons, share with your people, and subscribe so you don't miss a beat of all this good stuff. So whether you're seeking clarity, empowerment, or simply a new perspective, this is your space to live life wise. Today, we are diving into one of my most favorite and possibly one of the most important and fundamental topics, that of cymatics, making sound and vibration visible. And we are honored to have joined with us on this impressive adventure the most highly versed cymatics OG veteran, researcher in cymatics, creator of Cymatech, Cymatechnology, healing devices to the masses, Mandara Cromwell. This is our second conversation, with our first interview being on the LifeWise radio show in 2021, I believe. And you can find our then interview on LifeWise Wellbeing's website, along with many other amazing interviews and astonishing masters with their respective fields of greatness. Mandara Cromwell is the CEO of Cyma Technologies and is responsible for bringing the work of Dr. Peter Guy Manners to the United States. She developed his more than 40 years of research, along with new findings by other scientists and doctors, into the advanced sound technology devices manufactured by Cyma Technologies, now available to consumers. Dr. Manners had worked since the 1940s with a collaborative group of scientists, medical doctors, in researching the biochemical signatures the biosignatures of the human body. During that time, he and his group developed over 700 commutations to identify the precise combinations of frequencies associated with healthy tissue and organ systems. Each commutation consisted of 5 harmonic frequencies of audible sound that supported the body in normalizing imbalances and synchronizing the cell's frequency back to its natural state of resonance. Since the time of his passing in 2005, Mandara has taken the original instruments that Dr. Manners worked with, such as the Mark series and the Cyma 1000, and evolved them into the into the innovative technology in the AMI, acoustic meridian intelligence devices offered by Cyma Technologies today. Mandara coined the word cymotherapy in respect for Dr. Manners' work and as an indicator of the evolution of the devices and healing aspects of therapeutic sound. In 2013, the AMI 750, Mandara's own invention, was nominated for the Thomas Edison Award for the innovation in fields of science and medicine. Wow. in addition for in addition to her innovations in advanced sound technology, Mandara also founded ISTA, which is the International Sound Therapy Association, a non-profit organization dedicated to increasing the public's awareness of the power of sound in our environment and its healing effects, which is largely what we're here for today. ISTA provides and promotes education in therapeutic sound modalities. Mandara lectures on behalf of ISTA and Cyma Technologies, introducing therapeutic sound as part of the medicine of the future to audiences all over the world. So it is with great cymatic reverence we warmly welcome one of the most prestigious and most honored people in the field of cymatics, creator of wonderful healing devices to the masses, the queen of cymatics herself, Mandara Cromwell. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
First things first, what's been the highlight of your day?
The highlight of my day is after a hurricane roared through 6 months ago, and I have been living in a quite chaotic cymatic universe. Today, the landscapers are here to plant the replacement trees and bushes. And so in a week, I'll have wonderful things growing in my yards again. So, natural disasters give us an opportunity to be part of the co-creative process to create beautiful spaces again. So I'm saying that bravely now, but at the time, it was pretty devastating to see your whole yard. And the good news is no one was hurt. My family and everybody, we were safe, but roofs of houses were torn off, and still 6 months later, we have blue tarps protecting. And we lost over 40% of our beautiful tree canopy of the city. And we're all collectively in this cymatic group pattern of making the city beautiful again as we once knew it. So it's a new opportunity. It's a new chapter. And we're all happy for today, sunshiny day. Thank you for asking.
Glad I asked. And that's phenomenal. And what a experience to go through, which is completely unheard of in your area, right? In Georgia, right?
Yes, never before has a hurricane made it this far inland. And so I have this totally new depth of empathy for people who go through natural disasters. I mean, there's just no way to know until you've experienced yourself. Once I remember I had the good fortune of early in my life beginning spiritual practices and being in the presence of spiritual masters. And I remember one day I was sitting with in a lecture with one, and after the lecture, this woman came up to greet the teacher, and she was complaining about, this happened to her and that happened to her and da 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 da, and all of these, woes and that a lot of people experience. And very lovingly, the master looked at her and said, the universe is bringing this to you for you. The universe is not doing it to you. You are bringing it to you. And these are the opportunities that you get to grow. So, the
So
universe
true.
gives us the universe, uni, one, verse, sound, really gives us the sound and vibration to guide us through our lives in a perfect way. And even though we think we're going through periods of devastation, well, maybe we needed to let go of some of those things. So in retrospect, when Hurricane Helene came through, I immediately said to myself, okay, Mandara, where do you need to adjust your thinking? Where do you need to adjust your position?
What a amazing positive spin, not even a spin, experience on that. And you've hit upon something which was had nothing to do with anything that we're going to talk about, which I have to talk about, which is the universe, one verse. And I've always thought absolutely along those lines that everything is music. Well, on a level, you can put it to that. And that's what we're here for today, where the music of us, and therefore with the universe thing, and again with our organs as well. I've always found that quite comical that we have these organs to play our music with, and in this universe, one verse. Ever thought about what the chorus might be?
I believe the chorus is that one verse sounds, and if you get into the ancient scriptural texts, there's the one who is the doer, and then there's the one who is observing the doer, and then there's the trinity of they're observing, the whole interaction. And I didn't say that quite as eloquently as it could be, but the one voice actually is the chorus also, reflecting it's reflecting itself like a mirror. So we're hearing, it's kind of like an echo goes out and then we hear it come back.
Oh,
So
that's good.
I
I
believe
like that.
that's the uni verse and the chorus responding to that one verse.
So all as one. Oh, this is dreamboat stuff. I love it already. Mandara, it's so good to see you again.
We're all part of the field. Every
Oh,
particle and every wave, it's all us.
you had a
And
post. Go on, and sorry, go on.
well, I think it's a very exciting time to be on this planet. I know that a lot of people are, focusing on the gloom and doom, but really, this is a time when consciousness is opening on a lot of people's radar screens, and they're becoming more aware of the words they speak, the actions. Like, oh, if I do this, I get this in return. And, where it used to take a long time for somebody to get it, I think collectively we're all moving together in a more coherent fashion to this realization that, hey, we are all one. And we all need to start singing together when we can,
I would say
however we
exactly
can.
the same as what you were saying, which is that is evidently what is happening now anyway. It's just that it's so new and so disruptive to what has been, which is follow me, that it's now a whole lot different. Harmony, balance, sensitivity, and and then with the Aquarian age of being your individual self, but with others, and then the technology on top of that. Oh my gosh, I'm with you. I think it's really exciting, and we're
I think
set for some amazingly good stuff.
Yeah, I think personally people are going from the I, I want this, I need this, all of the I stuff, and they're evolving into, hmm, how can I serve? How can I, be part of the co-creation of beauty and order of the golden age?
Do you know what I've even spotted recently is that every time, especially over the last couple of weeks or even few weeks, maybe, that when saying I or talking about the self, then it's getting a bit cringy, as in to reduce the things to yourself. And I'm really endeavoring to, it's as everything is a, for the words that come out to feel more inclusive of everyone else and the universe within it as part of that whole experience together, as opposed to the I, the little me, the oh, I did this, oh, I feel that way, or anything along those lines. So it's really interesting you say that. It's fascinating. And yeah, it's hard work, and it's really quite like tiresome hearing yourself talk about yourself as well. Like, oh my gosh, like when everybody else is, well, as well as very exciting, with what we do. This is a good time. I think it's a great time, like never before seen. So I guess to be expecting the unexpected, maybe, and that bringing us all together. Let's go for that. So, Mandara, what is cymatics for folk? And I would say, how does that kind of come into your work?
Right, yes. So, cymatics, um, I was aware of cymatics. Actually, it's a relatively new word, but before the word came into being and I became aware of it, reduced to its very simple definition, cymatics is the science of making sound visible. And as a child, I grew up in a Catholic church with the church that we went to is a Gothic style architecture. And so, for those people who have been in those types of structures, you know that if you hear, especially if you hear the choir or the pipe organ sound, you see that the acoustics are just phenomenal, most likely because they've been built on specific measurements, logarithms that reflect back this amazing resonance. And we feel, as a child, I actually felt the vibration inside my body. And with certain, yeah, I was one of those. My dad always said my ball bounces a little differently, but I could feel these vibrations. And when I was in the choir loft, one time I had this amazing experience as a child where a particular vocalist was singing Ave Maria. And I actually felt the vibrations under my skin and felt like I was going to lift off. So, but to cymatics, I loved looking at the stained glass windows and the angels painted on the ceilings. And they had these halos, which had geometric indications in their halo, and I would see them vibrate. So I would tug my dad on his suit coat and I say, I want one of those yellow hats that vibrated. So, and now I used to think nobody wanted to hear this story, but it's amazing how many people write into me and say, I had the same experience. I, as a child, because when we're children, our senses of perception are really wide open unless somebody shuts them down early. But those first 7 years, we're just wide open and we're taking in all of these vibrations. And so I believe that I was living in a cymatic universe way back then, and just things that I would see, in a vibratory way, a very dynamic state. I would walk in my grandmother's rose garden, and she would always talk to the roses. And so I thought it was natural that people talk to their plants because my grandmother did, right? And I encourage people to talk to their plants. I think it's great. But to see the vibration, and one day I said to her, I said, "Oh, look at this! It was a beautiful rose colored rose, a pink rose, and it seemed to be like the petals were waving." And I said, "Grandmother, do you see that?" And she said, yes, that she could see it too, that we could see. And so this whole experience of feeling sound and vibration throughout my life was, from basically the beginning. And then, after college, I went to India and spent some time there. And as a matter of fact, I just got back from a trip to India a few weeks ago. But, there they have different structures, but still with a particular design to harness resonance and what we call entrainment, because when you're in a specific structure that is creating a grid, a focused sound grid, even just the exhale is creating a vibration that hits the wall and comes back to you. And so here I was in India and experiencing that art and architecture as well. Now, growing up a Catholic, we had, Mother Mary, the saints, and lots of, we were always praying to someone for help to connect to the divine. And we had the rosary. And going to India, they have the same thing. They call it a mala. They have many gods and goddesses, but, so there was an innate attraction there because of something familiar that had been with me earlier in my life. Then I came back from India, and at that time I began to study Ayurveda, which is the oldest medical system in the world. And in that system, there is a concept called the five koshas, the five bodies. So we have the physical body, the etheric, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual bodies. And so going into these structures, these temples and churches that are designed in specific ways, you can alter the frequencies in those bodies, and not just the physical body. And so I'll relate that to Western medicine. When we come to Western medicine, we're just dealing with the physical body. But here we have this ancient tradition of this oldest medical system called Ayurveda that encompasses everything, the physical body and all of the subtle bodies, the vibrations of each of those bodies, each of those organ systems and how they relate to those bodies. And then I came back to America and I ran a meditation center and yoga and all of that. But it was, I'll fast forward a few decades because we don't have enough time for this. Actually, you know what? I wrote a whole
You're
book.
So funny.
I wrote
the book. Go on.
I wrote a whole book if you really want to know the details.
The other decades that we're having to skip.
So the decades we're going to have to skip. So then I met in 2001 Dr. Peter Guy Manners and learned that he was working with a audible sound to help people with their health. And I'm like, man, I've got to find out about this. So I flew to England and spent some time with him. And we developed a business relationship. Again, that story's in my book. So if you want to know the details, go there. But he was having difficulty getting his device manufactured. And so I invited him, if he wanted to bring it to America, that I could help him with that. And so the Cyma 1000 is the first device that I created for him. And after that, I realized that the method of application and all of the knowledge that is there was difficult for the average person to make useful in their life. So that's when I moved over to the AMI devices. And so today I have a device that's called, this is the AMI 850, but you sit in a chair, you put your feet on this device, and it has 20 different protocols for different systems of the body. And they all play for 30 minutes. So for 30 minutes, you sit and relax in a chair and experience these sounds, creating this lattice sound work all around you. You have this grid. So it's a very targeted approach to bringing the body, the physical, mental, emotional, etheric, and spiritual bodies back into coherence.
Is the pad vibrating at the same time? Sorry to jump in. Or is it sound?
Good question, because a lot of people get the device and say it's not vibrating. It's not it's a subtle vibration that most of the time people do not feel that, but you do hear the sound. So yeah, and you will feel, most people feel something the first session, but there are some people who don't. If they have a lot of congestion, like maybe they have peripheral artery disease or neuropathy or some pain or something that is constricting the energy flow throughout the body, they won't feel it right away. So what's happening is the sound is gently massaging the cells, and the cells that, because of usually extreme stress, have basically gone to sleep. That they just say, I can't handle it anymore. And so what happens is the cell membrane becomes a little hardened. They don't reproduce quite as effectively, or to their optimum reproduction. And so the sound relaxes that cellular membrane, and it kind of helps the cell do its wonderful dance of taking in nutrition and excreting metabolic waste. So it's when we're really stressed that gorgeous dance, that gorgeous cellular dance, is really stressed. It's impacted to a point where it's just not working well. So these sounds very gently kind of bring those back to their optimum song.
So does it help then bring your body into coherence with itself or with that tone? And so then, yeah, at the cellular level, it's able to kind of come online again as such. So then your body's able.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is important to know. Um, so I named this series of devices AMI, which is an acronym that stands for Acoustic Meridian Intelligence. So acoustic, audible sound, is traveling the meridian pathways. And the meridians, there's tons of research out there proving their validity, and actually that they're super highways for communication all throughout the body. And then the intelligence part is that the body, in its own innate intelligence, knows exactly where to let that sound go. It siphons it right away to a constricted area that needs help. And so with this whole unit of acoustic meridian intelligence, and a lot of people say, well, it's on my feet, how's it going to help my rotator cuff, or how's it going to help my migraine, or how's it going to help my lung problem if it's on my feet? This is the magic of the meridian pathways. They indeed are superconductors of sound and light. And the meridians, extend, into the body and a little bit outside the body. So we're tapping into that subtle area that is inside and right outside the body. So we're moving into, a lot of people, they ask me, do you have a frequency for my lungs? I have this respiratory condition. Do you have what's the, because I have, long haul, virus or respiratory virus, that I just can't shake since 2020 or maybe before. And I always say that, first of all, we have to understand that there are frequencies for everything. So the answer to your question, do I have a frequency for your lungs? Yes, I do. And it's more than just that. The lungs have three major parts. So is there a frequency for all three of those special parts? Yes. And there are subtleties for each part of that lung area. So we've got lots of frequencies that we need to address. So people are thinking from the perspective of Western medicine, where they go to their medical doctor and say, these are my symptoms. The doctor gives them a diagnosis and then prescribes a medication, so we're basically getting a pill for that ill. So we think, oh, well, I would just want the frequency for my lungs. Well, it's a lot more involved than that. We need to bring the whole orchestra, which the human body is an amazing orchestra, a sub-orchestra of the collective universal orchestra. But so we need to bring our body back into a level of harmony. So in the frequencies that I work with, they're all in the audible range. And so I want people to know that there are frequencies on the sound spectrum that are inaudible, just like in the light spectrum. You know, if you look at electromagnetic spectrum, you'll see that, oh, the visible light is just right here. So our physical eyes can only perceive just that part of the bandwidth. But, and it's the same with the sound spectrum. The human hearing is between 20 and 20,000 hertz. But there are lots of sounds and frequencies beyond that. So we can't, maybe we can't really hear the sound of our brain exactly, or the sound of what's going on in our head, but we can sense the vibration. And our body is so magnificent. We have a nervous system that says, oh, that's not feeling so well. You know, I have this gut feeling that this is not right for me. I have this sense that I need to move away from this situation. So we are our own barometer if we will just pay attention. So what my device does is that I have worked with these audible sound frequencies. And by the way, for each part of the lung, there are 5 frequencies. So we have 5 frequencies, major overall frequencies for the lung. We have 5 main overall frequencies for the thyroid. We have 5 overall main frequencies for the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, and so on. So what I have done is I have taken these quintets of frequencies and figured out how to layer them to get the fastest response for maybe a physical condition that you're experiencing. And one of those conditions that we get asked a lot about is for the lungs, for the respiratory system.
This is all, sorry, go on. Go on. This is great.
Well, I was just going to say, so people go, oh my gosh, how would I ever know if I got your device? How would I know which one to use? Well, I've already organized them according. So, you know, we have a 30-minute protocol just for the respiratory system. We have a 30-minute protocol just for the inflammatory process, because inflammation is at the bottom of every chronic degenerative condition. So to deal with inflammation is a big thing. A really big help for our bodies. But what we do offer at Cyma Technologies are free consultations to every owner so that they know which channel to use on the device that is specific to their health goals. So yeah, we have wonderful advanced therapists that are just love helping people with their health and track them. Most of our protocols, when you call in, and maybe if you're dealing with inflammation, they'll say, you know, do this specific protocol for 6 weeks, because it takes a while. If you have a condition that things have been going rampant the wrong way, it takes a while to kind of turn that ship around in the ocean.
That's interesting. I get that same thing with energy healing with people who have had something that's been there for a long, long time, to shift something that is quite entrenched seems to take that much longer. If it's something that's just instant, let's say a burn, I don't know, a sprain or a bruise or something like that, or a headache, then they go really pretty quick. But something that's been entrenched a bit more takes a while. So that's an interesting one.
And to relate that into cymatic language, we say those are patterns of illness that you have been replaying in your physicality for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, you know, in cases of, you know, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, dementia, neurological conditions, in, you know, autoimmune conditions, digestive disorders like, you know, Crohn's and IBS and all that. Usually those patterns of illness have been going on for some time at an unconscious level. And so it's only when it comes into the conscious level that that pattern, that cymatic pattern of illness we become aware of, and then we have the thought of, gosh, I need to do something about this. This is, affecting the quality of my life.
And your devices, do they help all those things? As in, you say Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and because everything will have a frequency. So, did, does your devices, the AMI, help there?
Well, we have lots of people who, so first of all, let me just make a, a disclaimer here. According to the FDA, we relieve stress and pain. And all of those people with all of those conditions are very stressed out and in some level of pain. So we do help people with that aspect of their condition. And, what happens with, particularly people will just take the digestive system because a lot of people have digestive orders. Usually what happens is it calms down so that rampant cycle, the pain cycle needs to be interrupted. And a chronic cycle is usually something that persists after a 60 to 90 day period. If you're not resolving your issue, then the medical establishment classifies you as you are having chronic digestive problems, or you're having chronic this condition. So the first thing that is happening is there are levels of stress. Okay, so the first, you're stressed. Now people go, oh, they're stressed, everybody, everywhere, and they take the term stress very lightly. But really, we need to go back and pay attention to when we're stressed to the negative side. Now, we have positive stress. If you say, hey, I just won the lottery. If you say, I'm getting a new house, you're excited about that. But with that comes some, responsibility. You're going to have to make decisions, but it's positive because the outcome is really wonderful, right? So we have positive stress, but then we have the stresses of maybe a relationship friction, or some conflict somewhere, a hurricane comes through, something really big happens, and it takes a while to recover from that stress. We think we're recovering from it and we stuff it. And this is where toxicity gets lodged in our bodies because we don't have time to address it. And that's where the pattern of illness starts brewing, because we put that in a closet somewhere and it's brewing, and we know it at an unconscious or subconscious level that we're going to deal with it later. But we're so focused on the stresses of daily life. So stress exacerbated creates cortisol in our body. And I'm talking about the physical expression, because a lot of times people have to get sort of hit with a 2x4 to say, the body says, hey, pay attention to me, give me some time, give me some love. So anyway, the cortisol then causes inflammation. And so then the body sends out little warriors to calm down the fires of inflammation, and it gets on its little cycle that it can't stop. And then we get into more advanced cases of when the inflammation is not interrupted, then certain functions in the body happen. We build up congestion in these certain areas. We build up plaque in our arteries because our arteries are going, gosh, so this plaque in our arteries, plaque in our mouths, our teeth, our breath, all of these things are interrelated. So what we find, and this is one of the things I've done since I spent time with Dr. Manners, is that I have done research in, what's happening here. And so I use thermal imaging. Also, my colleague and longtime friend, John Reed, we've collaborated in some research, and he's got a great paper that's coming out later this year where he used one of the frequencies from my device and for increasing cell viability and oxygen in the blood is great. So if we can reduce inflammation and increase oxygen and cell viability, that is, we're ahead of the game.
This so speaks to so many people's languages, especially with the oxygen sort of intake, this kind of helps people in the realms of, say, general fitness, food health, giving back to like the self, loving thyself, and it's all one unit. I totally get that, and I'm just lit up with everything that you say, and I could spend hours on literally every angle. Um, there's something I what is that sound which you always hear, which this body always hears in the inner ear, and it's like a constant high pitched tone. I know it to be like the sound I heard once, as in it's like the you are sound. What is that? Is it? Do you know what? Before you answer, I want to see if I'm anywhere accurate. Is that the body's various physical parts vibrating at a pattern where that's its signature sound?
Yes, that's my belief. And then
Oh,
that is
really?
the sound. That is the sound that we actually are. It's kind of like we're doing scales. If you've heard a vocalist, or a pianist practice their scales, where we hear that sound, but that sound varies from day to day, from moment to moment, actually. And that sound is we are part of the universal chorus. That is our sound that we connect to. And that sound, that sound changes when we're in different relationships, because again, that's the mirror of it's the lover and the beloved. They're one and the same, but when you separate them, one is the mirror for the other. They're both, it's this dynamic dance. It's the yin and yang of Taoist philosophy.
Does it
And
have like a name in your? Because I understand it to be the U R the sound, but I can't remember where I heard that from,
oh,
and I don't know if I've heard that since. So I don't know now if I'm making that up. From what I said to you before, is how I understand it to be in that permanent high pitched noise in my head. It's like tinnitus, but it's not tinnitus.
right. Yeah, it's part of the
Um,
nervous system that's talking to you. It's your nervous system that you're hearing within your availability, your how you can hear your it's like in meditation. When we go into deep states of meditation, we hear universal sounds, and there are different sounds equated with different levels. So at the physical level, you're hearing your sound. But then when we go deeper, we hear the sound of buzzing bees. One of the states is the buzzing bee sound. In other levels, we can hear the sounds of conchs and bells, and there are many celestial sounds that we can tune into. So, congratulations, you are tuning into yourself, because that's the first step. We
oh,
must become aware.
this is
Once
so
we,
mad. Go on,
well,
sorry, go on. Once you go on, say carry on.
once we become aware of what's happening in not just our physical body, that awareness opens a door. It's kind of like begin to understand a language of our deeper self. So we are expanded inwardly as we begin to marry with our outward experience. And the more we sharpen our senses of perception, the more we can enjoy and be in tune with the natural song that's out there,
Okay.
our natural cosmic hum, you
So
know.
with the Schumann resonance, then all as one unit, the Schumann resonance being the, well, as people coin it, and I'm sure it's not dead on accurate, but the Earth's heartbeat is what it's coined. But from what I understand, it's like the pulse um, of Earth, her or itself, and that can be measured between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere. And that measurement then is the Schumann resonance, and that's just ramping up, as in normal would be normal since like the 80s previously would be about between, I don't know, 6, maybe sort of like 12, and 12 was kind of crazy, where nowadays, over the last, say, 5 to maybe 10 years, I've been like monitoring this or keeping an eye on it, then it's been going nuts. Like anything between 20 is roughly normal and like 200, 200. And from what I understood is that that makes time dilate and time goes quicker. Your experience of time, because time is and isn't a thing. And so back then at the 80s, you could probably get a lot more done in your day, where now it's everything's so quick, it's so fast. Even things you're trying to slow down for and do some me time is just done in a second. Have you got anything to add in there in the world of cymatics there, Schumann resonance, Mother Earth?
Only that this is again a very exciting time to be on the planet because we are just now, scientists are just now developing tools where we can detect these levels of experience, these subtle frequencies, these subtle states of being. It's just really a tremendous, and there are cymatic imaging at every level if we tune into it. Right now, with cymatics, we just see the audible sound made visible. We're not even going into the invisible sound or the inaudible sounds. Okay, now I know that with NASA, sometimes they pipe the sounds of the planets back to us, and those have to be brought down into an audible range so we can scope them, so we can see what that might look like. And it's the same way with well, with everything. We just don't have the technology to actually look at that. But I have to say that I'm in great gratitude for the last thousands of years, all of the people who have contributed and held the frequency vibration in its purest sense, that we live harmoniously on this planet. Now, it's true sometimes we kind of get off kilter here with some of the man-made things that we do, and at Cyma Technologies we do have a lot of people who come to us that are experiencing environmental sickness because they're in specific areas where there are like tremendous impact of environmental toxins, electromagnetic frequencies, the non-native electromagnetic frequencies, the things that take away our state of health. And so, that's another thing that we must be aware of. And so that's we find our feedback from our population who owns AMI devices. That's one of the first things they say is that they feel like they have more energy to work when in their job, because most people are sitting at a computer all day long, and those types of frequencies, that type of light does drain us. So it's not native to our or supportive to our physical health. So with the AMI device, we've tracked some people, a small pilot study, where their energy becomes more vital. They're sleeping better, their digestive system is better. We had one woman who fractured her leg, and she said the doctor said it's going to be 16 weeks before she can get back to it. In 3 weeks, she was on the tennis court again. And the doctors are like, wow, we don't know how this happened. Sadly, when she told them what she was doing, they said, oh, that's okay. You just keep doing what you're doing. It seems to be working. But they can't open themselves, and particularly in Western medicine, because it's not part of their standard of care. But for people who look outside the box, and this is the one thing I find in the world of cymatics and cymotherapy, that more and more people are looking for tools to add to their medicine chest of how to keep themselves and their loved ones, their family, healthy. And so a lot of times we, have a whole family that our sound therapists are consulting to help them with their health when they have a device. So yeah, we all need to do exactly. And then you said something that made me think of on the 30-minute session when you're on the AMI device for your 30-minute session, we tell people this is your time for you. Don't be texting your spouse. Don't be texting your kids, your parents, no, this is your time to totally de-stress. Just spend this 30 minutes for you and love on you. You deserve it. And it can be difficult to get through to some people.
So you're teaching meditation at the same time. Well, or at
Oh,
least a variant, you know,
absolutely.
relaxation.
And actually that's what I do with cymatics, is that I teach meditation. So in my book, I'll just show you real quickly. So, I have all kinds of cymatic images. These types of images are in my book. They're all cymatic images. And when we focus on these images, it's so interesting to just relax and gaze at the sound flowers. We call them sound flowers because in the cymatic laboratory, there's a transducer, and then the membrane with the cuvette, and then the sound comes up through there. And so you can see all the frequencies flowering on top of the water. And actually, if you want to go to a little slideshow, I have it.
Yeah, do you know what? Let's do that because one, I'm conscious of time. Two, I could be here for hours. Yeah, if we could get some visual, that would be great. What do you say?
Okay, and then you can chop it up however you want. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to zip through these and real quickly. And okay, so we talked about, sound creates the structure for life. And so with the perspective from my work is really from the holistic perspective of Ayurveda, where we have 5 bodies. So here you see the physical to the subtle network, and you can't affect one without affecting the other. And so in each of my channels, I've layered in frequencies for each of them. And so here, the sound of the nervous system, the organs, etc., and right down to the cellular level. We talked about that. The hands and the feet are excellent portals for accessing the meridian system. And so that's why the use of this device. And so here you see a person with their feet sitting comfortably in a chair with their, for their session. And so the sound is really targeted to the body, but it's also, of course, enveloping the whole person, creating this lattice work. So it's a very targeted approach to sound and creating. And then here's the study that John did, and where the AMI frequencies were the top winner for affecting cell viability and the oxygen levels. And so here's a real brief, pictures say 1,000 words. So a lot of people have peripheral neuropathy or peripheral artery disease, or, as we get older, the blood goes down and has a hard time coming back up. So
that's significant. That is, right?
It really is. I mean, if people, because you know what? We can't feel inflammation. Only if we have, particularly chronic inflammation, we just don't know what's going on until decades later. We go, oh my gosh, where did this come from? When it's been going on for a long time. So here's just after 15 minutes. Red means it's really hot and inflamed. And then the diminishing after 15 minutes, you see it. And when this person or in this group, we had this is a whole study that's published, but they would get up and they would say, gosh, I feel like I can walk further now. Their legs felt much more relaxed. And so I always was curious, what about the torso? So we're applying the sound through the feet. Is it getting all the way up there? So here you see in this woman, she's having a real challenge here. These are spots of inflammation. There's the lymph nodes. And this condition has been progressing for 10 years, and she can't get it to calm down. So this is a study that we did with the 750. There were 30-minute sessions. She did it 5 times a week for 2 weeks, and then 3 times a week for 4 weeks. And after that, here you see 6 weeks later, she looks like a totally different person. Now, are we saying we cured her? No, we're not going that far, but we could go further and say if you can rescue chronic inflammation, then your body has the vitality to do many other things. Your quality of life is improved greatly. And the sad thing is that all of us are dealing with inflammation. The food that we eat, the air we breathe, the environmental stuff that we're just surrounded with every day and night, we're all dealing with some form of this. So again, we're affecting the five bodies here. So now I want to go to the AMI sound frequencies. Now this is from John's lab, a controlled laboratory setting, and we're watching the code to help strengthen the etheric sheath. Now in Ayurveda, the etheric sheath is that actually feeds the physical body energetically. So you see that the images are coming up fast. Each frequency is flowering on top of the water.
And are these many frequencies, as in, could it be, say, sort of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? I mean, I'm being a bit sort of basic here, I get it, but is this many frequencies coming up real quickly?
These are 5 different frequencies that are
5.
being played simultaneously. And then this is the visual expression of those 5 frequencies. And so this is registering on our visual cortex and imprinting at every cell. So I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if the sound, but it's a very low hum. So we were speaking just a little bit ago about that cosmic hum that we attach to. We're all part of the universe. So these are what we call patterns of health, because I've done a lot of research on this particular code, and it's just wonderful. I've done blood, thermal imaging, EKG, heart rate variability, and all with, it's just very supportive of the body. So here you see the 5 different frequencies. So John has colored these so we can actually see the 5 different frequencies that are coming to the surface of the water, so we can picture them. And you see that they are presenting this beautiful golden ratio of these 5, this resonance of 5. And we have this geometry of 5 all throughout nature. And looking at our DNA, a cross section of DNA reveals 10 decagon sets. So here we have just beautiful geometry that is being played, that's natural. It's a natural sound to support our body. So I said to myself, well, what's the impact of seeing sound, in particular, a sound known to having healing qualities like this one? What's the impact? Could we use this to just by looking at it? And so we know that symbols of beauty, when we look at beauty, it provokes a response in the brain's reward pathway, and it generates a positive feeling when we go walking in the forest, when we look at the flowers, when we, all of this beauty, it really elicits an amazing response within the body. And so I have science, the brain processes 400 billion bits of information a second. And, anyway, so these are the Nobel guys that help support all of this evidence. So, and again, this is a whole workshop. I actually go into this. But in India, as I mentioned, have spent quite a lot of time there. I learned a meditation practice called drishti, which means focused gaze. And so we would gaze at specific geometric, and this particular one is called the Sri Yantra, which is known from ancient times. I mean, this is really a very sacred symbol, but when people look at it, they're able to access higher states of consciousness if they focus their gaze on it. So this, as you said, relates directly to meditation, and there are thousands and thousands of research. I think Harvard University alone has like 10,000 articles on the benefits of meditation, and that it just increases the our lively vibrational level here on this planet greatly. So I created little short videos. These are 5 to 7 minute videos of cymatic images to help people just calm down. Because what we need to do is interrupt that chronic cycle, particularly in this day and age where everybody's suffering from ADD and, uh, you know, our attention span is like 3 seconds. And so that's really takes is a big tax, a huge tax, a cost on our nervous system. And so when we are interrupting the nervous system with these constant interruptions, that has an immediate impact on our physical health. And so anyway, these are just 5 to 7 minute videos where people can watch them and tune in and relax. And then if people really want to dig deeper and see all of my research about why this works, how it works, what I did, I have a whole master class called the Soundflower Experience with Mandara. And so this I'm just going to show you very quickly is one subject. And so I track the stress levels in just 7 minutes. There's like this huge decrease, like she went from 298 down to 163 in a stress index. And so this is saying that if she stayed at 298 and didn't use something to manage her stress, this is going to exacerbate and there's going to be a chronic condition pop up. And here again, we have it. So I got lots of research. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip through that, but if people really want to know more, have them contact me or I have it all in the master class of Soundflower Experience with Mandara. But people, after listening or watching it for just even 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, they say, I feel a deep calming. It helps me get into meditation. I felt my body recognize the images. And so this goes back to that beautiful golden phi ratio that is innate in our, throughout thousands of years, that we all feel safe and relaxed. So anyway, what I'd like to do before I conclude the videos and we go back to just conversing is I would like to invite everybody to contact me for a free gift. We have a video, a 90-minute video, The Art and Science of Sound, and it has my friend John Reed is part of this, and we have Professor James Oliverio, a well-known composer who has created an amazing cymatic sound piece for us. And then we have Kate Holland, who does an amazing dance with cymatic images of creating the universe and helping us. And a lot of people watch it and go, gosh, I was healed with that. And then, of course, I talk about the mystical side of cymatics. Invite your friends over for an evening for dinner. Watch this. You will all love it. It goes rather quickly and you'll enjoy it. So please, just contact me for a free pass. And if you have any questions, just get me at cymatechnologies.com.
What I love about what you've put there, it's so good to put the visual to the work that gets done, the impact. And isn't it interesting how it's then about reducing stress levels, inflammation, being good to yourself, breath and breathing. Oh man, it's an interesting time. The work you do is phenomenal. It is different to, well, most that I know that I've bumped into have been looking around and researching various people for well over a decade. And your work is phenomenal. It's an absolute honor to have you. Thank you so much for your ability to bring the kind of spiritual loving into the technical, physical, and healing and help for ourselves and each other. You do that masterfully well. So thank you for being here, Mandara.
Thank you, Joffin. Thank you for what you're doing, because, it's people like you who are out there spreading the word. There are so many people who are hungry. There are so many people who are looking for just knowledge. Like, how do I understand this? Like I said about frequencies, People go, oh, I heard there's a frequency for, to get rid of my poison ivy, or I heard there's a frequency for this or that. To understand really the depth that comes, we just scratch the scratch of the surface. And with cymatics, we all live in a cymatic universe. And if you'd like to know how it's happening for you, you don't understand it, contact me. I love to talk about cymatics and cymotherapy. So if you are not working on your health first, not to say that, if you have a condition, help yourself first, and then you can go and share with others, because we are all here to help each other. We are all part of that beautiful universal choir.
And we're definitely at that place now as well, what we're saying earlier about that growing consciousness and mushing into each other's fields and accepting that as a place to go as one unit. So I think these are phenomenally exciting times. The work you are doing is brilliant. You relate so well. Is the best place to catch you on your website? Yeah,
I do.
That's fine.
Yeah, I do. I do have a Facebook page and Instagram. I'm not so good on social media, but I have a person who is.
So what's left for me to say is thank you so much, Mandara Cromwell, for being on the Live Lifeway show. Phenomenal. This has been Geoff Talbot for the Live Lifeway show with the amazing Mandara Cromwell. All love to you.
Love to you too, Geoff. Thank you.
Happy tree planting day.
I'm going there now.
Oh, no way. How cool. Cool. All right. Be well, Mandara. Lots of love and see you again. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to drop a message or what have you to all the usual socials. You'll find us on LifeWise Wellbeing on Facebook and Insta and TikTok as well. And check me an email if you need to. That's actually my best way of getting back to you, in all honesty. That's at info@lifewisewellbeing.com. Hope you've enjoyed this show. What a blast. It's left me with too many thoughts. All right. Big love to you. How good was that? Have a good day out there. It's caught in the crossfire.